etiquette because you two create tremendous microphone problems, which is fine if you don't want to spend $70 on one of these bad boys. Are you leaving, David? Bye. Please mute your microphone. We are live. Thank you. Wait, who wants to be blue text and who wants to be red text? Alright, fuck it. I guess I'm delegating.
I'll be blue. I'll be blue.
Alright. David gets to be red.
I'll be red.
You're excitable. Alright, yes. Huzzah! It's a show. We finally did it. Okay. Welcome to another episode of the Super Movie Studies Podcast, a community of superhero fans, nerds, teachers, students, people looking to discover more about superheroes and the world, because both are awesome. I'm your comic book cultured host, Michael Maurer, joined by our healthy lawyer,
David Kleppe.
and our terrific guest,
Twitter Tom. Lovely intro. SMSP is your premier movie discussion podcast. Every week we continue our journey exploring our favorite subjects, superhero movies. Every fan sees the movies differently, so we gather some amateur experts to discuss certain aspects of the movie.
Whether it's money, comic books, music, or science, Super Movie Studies Podcast talks about it all. In this week's episode, and yes, there will be spoilers.
Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2. I love it when the new people take the outline 100% literally. Have a little instinct. This week's episode, dramatic pause. Don't say the episode title. Oh, David, you cracked me up.
I've done it before.
I know it's not written in. Sometimes I have a blank slate that I use for everything.
These things are editable, you know that, right?
Oh, you know what? Not today. Not today. Today's magical because we happen to actually get both Tom and David into this episode, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2. How long have we been trying to frickin' record this thing? Weeks. And things just keep popping up. Yes. Up and up. But let's go with first opinions around the board. I want to hear from Tom.
All right, I watched this about last year when it came out on Netflix. And the only reason I watched it is because I watched the first season, and when I start something, I have to finish it, no matter how bad or mediocre it is. I will say the first season was pretty mediocre up until the Winter Soldier episode, which they covered that in the previous podcast, and I thought the second season was a lot better. I just think it flowed better, and I liked when they introduced the Inhumans, and Chloe Bennett's character was a little bit more fleshed out. Yeah, I enjoyed the second season a lot more than the first season. And I would say, I mean, it was just above mediocre. I mean, it's not something I have to watch, but it was enough to keep me interested to keep watching, I guess.
Oh, such kind words. David, how did you enjoy Season 2?
I agree with Twitter Tom that it was better than the first season. I really enjoyed this mysterious obelisk that they were chasing the whole time. That I thought that whole overarching theme with all this mysterious power that they couldn't explain, they didn't know what was going on. I thought that was kind of fun. and I thought it was well done. I enjoyed the character development in several of the characters, especially Chloe Bennett, who has let us down in the past.
Yes, season two. Season two is two big different plot lines because the first half of the season dealt with Daniel Whitehall and the mixture of Kree blood that led to Coulson going a little cuckoo, why Chloe Bennett, Scott, part alien or whatever, and then they talk about those aliens, those humans, in the entire second half of the season. And season two, man, it started out a little rough. They killed Lucy Lawless in the first episode, and you're going, what? Why isn't she sticking around? That's fucking Xena, the princess warrior. You just gonna ditch that in half a second? Keep that on lock. I guess not. And then they added a bunch of different new characters this season. Holy crap. You had Mac, Hunter, Bobby, and I'm missing one? I feel as if they added another teammate. Oh, BJ Britt comes on pretty much the whole time. Trip, BJ Britt, though. And that's when season 2 took a dive, is when BJ Britt left. David, I think you'll remember the moment, spoilers, when BJ Britt passed away. And we both went, I guess we're just not watching this fucking show anymore.
Rest in peace, BJ. Rest in peace.
It was a truly tumultuous time. Because he was our favorite, even though he did absolutely nothing on the squad. Absolutely nothing. But be our favorite. Most quotable line of season 2. Hey, Trip, could you give us a minute? Check this out. And then he walks away. Love it. Loving every minute of it. Do either of you have a favorite quotable line of season 2? Please tell me. Or hang in complete tense silence. You can unmute your microphones and wing it.
Which one was the dude? Fitz and Simmons. Is Fitz the guy?
Leo Fitz. Gemma Simmons.
Yeah, my favorite quotes were the one. Didn't he have like amnesia in the beginning?
He had aphasia, but yeah.
Yeah, anything he said was my not favorite quote because that drove me nuts in the whole first. Because he gets rid of it towards the end, doesn't he?
They sort of heal him of aphasia very quickly. We'll talk more about how that works later. Mic drop. Literal mic drop.
I don't have a favorite quote, but I have an unfavorite quote, and it was anytime he was mumbling because of his aphasia.
Because he was brain damaged? Fuck that character. It was annoying. I didn't sign up for cerebral palsy. God, this show is awful.
It's just a stupid plot device. It's like, we'll give this guy memory lapses. All right, we're good. We're good. That'll run for about 8 episodes.
I remember when Mac was he was fighting that guy who could teleport, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but I remember he said something really funny, and I'm looking it up right now to try and find it, but I'll get it.
Gordon. All right.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, oh my goodness. Sorry. Give me half a second. Okay. Let's talk about some comic book characters. I know typically I should have ratings, stats for the next segment, but I don't. So therefore, it's been a busy week, gang. It's always a busy week in Midwestern life. We're all working to make that dough. So here we go with the comic book section. You know how this works. Some comic book characters that came to life in this season. I'll talk about some background, as we discussed before in last episode. All of the main cast are completely unique. There's no history behind them. They literally made them up as they go. They get to do whatever they want. But let's talk about some other characters that they introduced. Inhumans, right? They introduced the Inhumans, the Kree, but not the Skrull, because they already did that earlier, kind of, sort of, in the Avengers. They introduced the ultimate Marvel alternate dimension of the Skrull called the Chitauri. Here, let me give you some context. The Kree are an race of super alien scientists at war for eons with the shape-changing Skrull. That's why the Skrull are kind of important in this equation. They tried to create a super soldier program that created superpowered soldiers labeled the Inhumans. The Inhumans rebelled for being treated as a second-class citizens and have developed a monarchical society. Kings, queens, all that. There's a royal family of characters of note like Black Bolt, Medusa, Crystal, Gorgon, Karnak, and Triton, and Maximus the Mad. But that is a giant set of characters that were never addressed, but their race of Inhumans was. But they sort of, I don't know if they tied the Inhumans 100% to the Kree. I think they did with this obelisk nonsense. If anyone can remember, or did we all sort of black out for most of the plot of season 2?
It's like a strobe light for me. Like, I remember bits and pieces. It's just that's how mediocre that show is.
Every other second of season 2.
I believe the city that the obelisk technology was in was a Kree city. So I don't know if that means that it's all Kree stuff, but it definitely was tied to the Kree.
Yeah, because we saw one Kree character who held a literal mini hammer, Trundle, and he had the angriest eyebrows I've ever seen. That guy was fun to have around. So let's talk about some characters, starting with Karen Palamas, a.k.a. Agent 33, premiered in Hercules: Heart of Chaos, #1 in 1997 by Tom DeFalco and Ron Frenz. A mythology historian recruited by S.H.I.E.L.D. ever since Thor showed up on the scene. She was a S.H.I.E.L.D. liaison to Hercules for a while, and basically was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent that has... Basically, she was a history major grad that was living the dream, getting a cushy field agent job in a government secret society because you know a lot about Greek mythology. And David is reading something. You're allowed to talk more, guys. Just a heads up. Because otherwise, it's really bland when it's just my voice for like 20 minutes. Okay.
I don't know these characters very well.
Next character, Al Mac Mackenzie from Nick Fury vs. S.H.I.E.L.D. #3, 1988, Bob Harris, Paul Neary. A CIA liaison to S.H.I.E.L.D. He later worked for S.H.I.E.L.D. and left it writing an unauthorized tell-all book called Unshielded. He's been an unofficial source to reporter Ben Urich and Jessica Jones ever since trying to convince them to expose some of Nick Fury's more shadier foreign policy implementations.
My favorite quote from season 2 comes from Mac. It's when he's going to fight Gordon, and Mac says, "Are you Gordon?" And Gordon goes, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm the guy who kills Gordon." Which is perfect.
Such like a big oaf thing to say. And then didn't he shortly afterward cut off Coulson's hand? Because Mac is a badass.
He did. He did cut off Coulson's hand. And he got
And
schooled
so
on quantum physics shortly before it, too.
Mac is your best friend, but also can kick ass. Not really much in the comic book. He's kind of just another S.H.I.E.L.D. character. He's like Deep Throat in S.H.I.E.L.D. Moving on to a bigger character, maybe the biggest introduction, we have Bobby Morse, Barbara Morse, a.k.a. Mockingbird, premiered in Astonishing Tales number 6, 1971, by Jerry Conway and Barry Smith. This is when she premiered Barbara Morse. She didn't show up as Mockingbird until Marvel Team Up number 95 by Steve Grant and Mark Grunwald and Jim Janes. And that was like 6 years later. I don't have the exact stats on that. Excuse me. So originally, she appeared as a Kazar side character, Kazar being Marvel's Tarzan ripoff. An unnamed woman appears at the Plunder estate, Kazar the Jungle Man's real name, Kevin Plunder, only to learn that Mr. Plunder is off having adventures in the Savage Land, a place in the Arctic where dinosaurs apparently still live, and it's a tropical forest. We then discover that she is a premier biologist working on yet another super soldier program, because the world has a million of those, and needs help dealing with the swamp creature, Man-Thing, in Florida. Already so confusing. Afterwards, she joins Kazar in New York City. Now somehow she's a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, though, as his sidekick and love interest. She gets pushed out of the equation when Shauna the She-Devil, which is basically a female Tarzan, comes onto the scene. She moves titles and is revamped as S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Mockingbird, developing a strong relationship with Hawkeye, eventually marrying and helping found the West Coast Avengers. She breaks up with Hawkeye because she lets a villain who brainwashed and raped her fall off of a cliff and die, and Hawkeye is just not cool with that. Yes.
You can't even make this stuff up.
They did.
This is Marvel Comics at its best. I mean, at its worst. It's so freaking out there. It's not even funny.
When you let that villain die, we could have sent him to jail.
He
Clint.
only raped you. I
Yeah.
mean, come on. You had to kill him because of that.
You had to. It's not even. She didn't even kill him. She let him die. Like, she didn't step in and save him from the cliff because she was too like scared, like emotionally ridden by this one villain.
I just picture Hawkeye watching that and being like, well, yep, we're done because she let that happen. I'm divorcing her.
That's a deal breaker.
Love her to death, but she's got to go.
Even though he was a villain to start with. He was an Iron Man villain when he first jumped on the scene. In 1993. Yep. In 1993, she sacrificed herself to save Hawkeye from Mephisto, a.k.a. Marvel's version of the devil. And the sorrow surrounding her death caused the West Coast Avengers to disband. But she's back alive, though. That's a little bit of Mockingbird in a nutshell for you. Just a little taste of what you can expect when this character shows up in a book.
Well, I have to say
Next.
I prefer the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. version better than her original comic book.
I don't. I want that crazy-ass shit to be happening every episode. Let's get on to... Let's get on to the next the next character. We've got the villain of Season 1, Daniel Whitehall, from Secret Warriors number 11 in 2010 by Brian Michael Bendis, Jonathan Hickman, and Stefano Caselli. Part of the same international club as John Garrett, you remember me talking about in episode Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1. That group was called Da Vinci, or the Great Wheel. Daniel Whitehall was a British national during World War II. He later became an infamous Hydra agent known as the Kraken, with little proof that he even existed. That's how legendary he was. His mission was to make people what they were meant to be, which we saw a lot of in the television show. And he trained some of Hydra's most elite. He was then murdered in a hospital bed by Nick Fury's younger brother Jacob, who took over his title as the Kraken. He got murdered because he was old.
Kraken.
They were running out of cool names by 2010.
Yeah, okay, let's Pirates of the Caribbean, that's popular. We'll call him the Kraken. That'll work.
That's totally why. Nothing to do with the alcohol, which is what you'll be drinking later. Safely and responsibly. Next character we have Mr. Hyde. Premiered in Journey into Mystery number 99, 1963. Stan Lee and Don Heck. Calvin Zabo was a brilliant biochemist obsessed with the tale of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He believed Dr. Jekyll's formula could be replicated. He worked at various hospitals and pharmaceutical companies, robbing them for supplies before repeating the process somewhere else. He came across the hospital of Dr. Donald Blake, who wielded the power of Thor at the time. There's a big stick involved, and Thor was inside of a guy. Just don't ask.
Again, comics. Marvel Comics.
It's okay. I was hoping someone would comment on the gay jokes there, but that's fine. I worked really hard on them.
I wasn't gonna stoop that low. I had to listen for the kids. Watch out for the kids.
I worked hard on that.
Gosh, that's fuck you.
That's what she said.
I'll work hard on you, David. Oh wait. Your facial expressions are not captured in podcast form, as hilarious as they may be. As he nods and gives me a smug face. Okay, I guess we're doing this play-by-play. So, Dr. Donald Blake, a.k.a. Thor, refused him a job because of his work history. Duh. Oh, I see you work at a bunch of different hospitals and pharmaceutical companies within the last 6 years. Why did you leave those jobs? I was fired. Or I quit. Oh, I wonder, will they line up with all of these robberies? You're not hired. So, that means Calvin swore revenge for that one act. He got the formula to work. He became a career criminal fighting against Thor. And he totally banged a prostitute who gave birth to the next character, Daisy Johnson, or Quake, as she's known as, in Secret War number 2. 2004, Brian Michael Bendis again, and Gabrielle Del Otto. Daisy Johnson rose to the top as one of Nick Fury's most trusted S.H.I.E.L.D. agents very quickly. She possesses a level 10 security clearance, being the only to do so besides Nick Fury and Black Widow. She is possibly Fury's most trusted confidant, being a large help in recruiting trustworthy heroes during the Skrull invasion. She has done multiple stints on the Avengers as Quake, but really not all that exciting, but shakes things up every once in a while.
Oh,
that was
bad. Did there.
That was bad.
Yeah.
I really like that she has a level 10 security clearance, because I remember distinctly about the first season that this whole security clearance level was just the most annoying shit they did.
It still is.
Every single day, every single episode, they were talking about, no, you have clearance for this. No, I'm a level 6. B. And it was just the worst.
Even though like one of the first lines.
I'm glad she got her 10.
Like that was the whole one of the big lines in the pilot, right? Was someone was talking to Grant Ward, and he's like, you know that Agent Coulson, you know what happened to Coulson? He's like, of course. I have level 7 clearance. You know that. He died in the Battle of New York. And then Coulson walks around the corner and says, welcome to level 8 clearance. You're just like, oh, go fuck yourself.
Oh, that was brilliantly done. It was masterful how they introduced the clearance level system.
Brilliant writing, just brilliant.
Okay, all right, we're done with comic book section. All right, we're done with your criticism. Let's move on to a little bit more criticism then. Health and law, David's two specialties of research, topics that I know you enjoy looking up a lot and knowing a fair amount about, but don't really have any sort of on-paper credentials for, except for your EMT-ness. That is on paper.
That is on paper. It's a very fancy piece of paper.
Did you have to? Do you put that on the fridge?
No, I got like a college degree picture frame, and it's hanging up at my parents' house. So they can show off that. So they can show off that one of their kids amounted to something.
One of their 5.
6.
6? I just counted in my head. All right, it took me a while. I'm sorry. You have a lot of siblings.
I do have a lot of siblings. So
Okay.
The first thing, right off the bat, we got to talk about Fitz. His he had lack of oxygen for, they don't really give us a specific amount of time, but we assume several minutes, which of course does a lot of damage to the brain. His biggest symptom that we see throughout the series, or throughout the season, is aphasia, which is that just means that it's difficult to put words in order, basically. You can think the thoughts, and the thought process is not affected, but when you're trying to say it, that connection is lost somehow.
Yeah. I always have a good example of this that my mother told me once. Of aphasia is if someone is holding a purple piece of paper in front of you, and you ask them, what color is this? And they're struggling, and they can't say the word purple. But then you ask them, is this color purple? Nod. And
Yeah,
of course
then
they nod. Or say
they
yes.
understand completely. Inside Fitz's head, he knows everything that's going on, and he's a quantum physicist, so he really knows everything that's going on, but he can't put things into words. And then on top of that, a lot of the stuff he's trying to talk about, he has to then translate to layman's terms for the people he's working with, which just creates a mess because he's basically trying to come up with the words and then trying to translate them, and it's really hard for him, and we see those struggles. Twitter Tom, you said that it was very difficult to watch him, and I agree, it was difficult to watch him sometimes. But I got to give credit because they portrayed aphasia very well.
It's like me after 3 Jack and Cokes. That's how I start acting.
3?
3? Is that what the baby's done to you?
Yeah, or after I crush a 6-pack of O'Doul's.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That'll do it.
So some of the other symptoms that you'd experience when you get lack of oxygen, your circulation decreases a lot. So you'd see skin color change. That's all just shock related. You would have altered mental status, at least at first. So let's say you were breathing a little bit too much carbon monoxide. It just takes oxygen out of your system. It doesn't actually poison you itself. So when you're losing that oxygen, you stop remembering where you are, and you stop being able to process what's going on, and you start getting kind of dizzy, and you don't really know what's going on, and that's called altered mental status. On top of that, you'd have some other symptoms such as coughing. Your heart rate and your breathing would quicken and shorten. You'd be sweating. the very typical trauma and shock symptoms would be taking place.
All right, let's move on to the next topic. David, you're making me snore now.
Treatment.
Tom has a baby.
You wanted me to talk about it. The treatment for lack of oxygen is obviously get more oxygen, get fresh air, breathe something. I mean, come on. Some of the long-term effects would include amnesia, which is forgetting things, aphasia, which is not knowing how to put words together, just stuff like that. The next thing I want to talk about is when Mac chops off Coulson's arm.
I love this moment. it's because it kind of deals with the myth, right? If you get bit by a snake at your arm, can you chop off the arm and still be okay?
Well, that moment in the season was like incredible because we were like, oh no, Coulson's gonna die, and then like you're looking at his hand change to this like it's I don't know, it's turning into like stone or dust or whatever it is, and all of a sudden this axe comes out of nowhere and goes, whatcha, and you're like, oh holy shit.
Here's my exact reaction when that happened. Oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
truly one of the most
that was pretty
moments
great. So chopping off a limb to stop an infection or to stop the spread of a poison is kind of bullshit.
Let's break this down. that wouldn't have worked.
Medical terms, it's kind of bullshit.
It can work, but you have to be really, really fast. Like, let's say as soon as he touches it, the axe falls and chops it off. That could work. I don't know how this works, how this obelisk works when it's killing people. It seems to be a pretty slow process, but on some people it happens pretty fast. You'd think that whatever's happening on the outside is happening on the inside too, so you would have no way of knowing where you should chop to stop the spread because it probably is spreading faster on the inside. And of course, if he chops a little bit too short, he's got to chop again until he gets all of it.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Picture like a chef with a carrot and just
yeah. until he sees fleshy, and then all right, we're good. The arm's saved. It's you have to be super fast. If someone tries to do this like with a snake bite or something, that's in your body in like 2 seconds. It's gone.
It's everywhere. Like, don't even fuck around.
One of the craziest Hollywood examples of this I think I've ever seen. If you guys have seen the movie World War Z, spoiler alert, it's about zombies. This zombie infection takes over a human in 13 seconds. 13 seconds for it to completely overrun your system, which is astronomically fast. Not really possible, but that's what the movie's premise is, so we're going to roll with it. One of the soldiers gets bitten, and Brad Pitt looks at her, looks at the zombie, looks back at her, and then chops her hand off. And she had been bit on the hand, of course. He chops it off, and then he starts counting to see if she turns into a zombie. But my problem with that is, if it's not only spreading to, but taking over your entire body in 13 seconds, you cannot chop that hand off fast enough. That is way too fast acting. And every time I see the movie and I watch that, I'm like, dude, she is zombie, and she's going to bite you, and you're going to die too. Is that what you want, Brad? That's not what you want.
You just got back into your long hair period, all right?
Yeah, we've seen it.
You just go.
We've seen it. We've seen it countless times in Hollywood, but it's pretty much bullshit just about every time.
Very well. Did you want to talk at all about the bus?
I don't know what you mean by that.
you have expressed multiple times how the bus, the plane that they used to get around, cannot pull off a vertical takeoff because it's a fucking cargo plane.
Well, I mean, that's not really medical related. I just think watching that bus, it's kind of like, what? It doesn't really make sense a lot of time because it's a really big plane, and they'll do things like they'll stop like at 30,000 feet and just hover for a second, and then they'll go like slowly descend, and you're like, what? That's not how aerodynamics works for sure. But again, I'm not a physicist, so maybe it is.
I don't know, but I know that's bullshit. Or that one time in season 1 where Simmons jumped out of the plane to try and commit suicide, and Ward jumped out of the plane like a full 30 seconds afterward, and you're like, she's miles away. Like, the plane didn't stop moving.
Even if he was able to fall fast enough to catch up to her level, she is way back here. Like, she falls straight when she leaves that plane. And he falls straight when he leaves the plane, like 10 miles down the road. So even if he can fall fast enough, like, he's basically going to have to hop in a car and drive over to catch her because there's just no way.
Oh, yes. Flashbacks, memories of good times. We love this show, David, don't we?
We love it as much as we can.
Hitting the ground, and then him 10 miles later hitting the ground, and then like an ambulance coming and be like, what did this dumb shit think he was gonna do? He jumped out 30 seconds later. This idiot, and load him up after a 10-minute drive. Like, what was he thinking?
He's got a parachute trailing behind him, and he's running up the road like, I can get her, I can still catch her. And they're like scraping her off the pavement.
There's still time.
He stops and takes a breath because he's just run 6 miles.
With the parachute on his back that he never took off. He still has that on.
That was season 1, but I don't care. I needed that moment revisited because, God, what bullshit. Oh, all right. Down on Health and Law. Not a lot of law going on other than the fact that they are a rogue agency that is well outside the law. They somehow have some loose... Yeah, that too. They somehow have loose jurisdiction with the U.S. government, but they're also disbanded as of the Winter Soldier crossover. So I really don't get why cops aren't hunting these people down too. Well, I guess Glenn Talbot starts fighting against them, sort of really in a love-hate relationship. Like, you do some good stuff for me, but you're also 100% illegal. So every vigilante ever, I guess. Let's move on to the next section. Fun facts. Tom.
All right. Fun facts. And this is the reason I was quiet earlier, is because I was still looking these up. Because, like this show, these fun facts are very mediocre and fun. So, I'm doing the best with what I got.
Just like the show.
Just like the show. Okay, first off, wait, you guys mentioned when Coulson gets his hand cut off in the finale. That just plays into the whole Marvel Phase 2, where every single Marvel property in Phase 2, considered in Phase 2, so you got Iron Man 3, Avengers 2, Thor 2, Winter Soldier, Ant-Man, all those, somebody gets their arm cut off. And it's a reference to Empire Strikes Back.
Are we going to walk through this?
What, do you want me to?
Because, well, okay. All right, so Iron Man 3, we had that Man-Thing's wife, right? Oh, Aldrich also got his hand cut off, you're right.
Lots of people doing that movie. That movie is a very limb-choppy movie.
Yeah.
I remember distinctly.
I think Savin gets his hand chopped off.
I just remember Aldrich getting his hand cut off. I think Pepper cuts it off when she's in the Iron Man suit. And then Thor... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Thor Dark World.
Yeah, so you got Thor Dark World.
Thor.
And I think Thor gets his arm cut off, but it's like like Loki's messing with him. It's like a
Oh yeah.
illusion or something like that.
It
what was
is.
after?
It was their
what-
big trailer pull of just like,
Yeah.
whoosh, he got his arm off. Go see the movie. Gotcha.
The rest of the movie's shit, but at least he gets his arm cut off.
Yep, Thor.
Thor: Dark World.
What's after that? Captain America.
After Captain America, Bucky, he has his whole left arm. Well, I don't know if you actually see it get chopped off, but in the beginning it's off, and it shows him attaching it when he's doing his when it shows him how he's being brainwashed. After that, what?
2.
And then
That's got to be Claw. Oh, I'm sorry. Guardians.
Guardians, the Gamora, not Gamora. What's her name? Nebula. One of the
Nebula?
alien girls. Yeah, I think it's Nebula. She gets her hand chopped off.
Oh, she chops her own arm off.
And then Ant-Man, Yellow Jacket, in the fight at the end, it's very quick, but he does get his left arm cut off in one of the explosions. And then
I guess. Avengers 2.
Yeah.
That's Claw. Getting his claw cut off.
And then they keep up that tradition in Civil War too. But I won't spoil it for you who haven't seen it.
Shh. More fun
Great
facts.
movie.
Hit us.
A great movie.
Yeah, it is very good. Adrienne Palicki, she also played Wonder Woman in a TV pilot in 2011 that obviously was so bad it did not get picked up. You can watch it on
I watched
YouTube,
it's
pretty terrible.
I watched about to that. Ugh. Wasn't fun.
Yeah,
The pilot had like a kid bleeding out of his eyes, and that was a mystery she had to solve. Which kind of sounds badass, but it was overall kind of lame.
Was not executed well. Okay, so apparently there's a long filming schedule for this show. The show begins filming in June, and it continues all the way until the second week of May of the next year. So it's a very long shooting schedule.
That's 11 months.
Yeah.
Like, that's not
so
cool.
They must edit it real quick because, they go until the end of May. So they must have 2 weeks to finish an episode from cutting room floor to airing it.
They might be a full year ahead.
Oh, that could be too. I didn't think of that. And the last mediocre fact I have is for the entire first week of shooting, the girl who plays Simmons, Simmons is the girl.
Yes,
right?
Simmons. Yes, Elizabeth Henstridge.
Yes, Henstridge. She thought Clark Gregg's name was Greg. So for the first week of shooting, she kept calling him Greg, thinking his name was Greg and not Clark, and he didn't have the he didn't want to tell her because he didn't want to make her feel awkward. But she ended up finding out.
Well, that's what you get for having 2 first names. Grant Austin. Yeah. Shamo Song. Wait. No. Hold on. Okay. I'm done. But.
So yeah. Sorry, I don't have that many facts, but truly, there's not money out there. I mean, just to give you some background, some of the facts I looked up, some were two cast members shared the same birthday.
Yeah, Adrienne Palicki and Kyle MacLachlan.
Chloe Bennett's character in the show was born in 1988, but she was really born in 1992. So I had very slim pickings.
That doesn't happen very often. Usually they go in the reverse. They'll have someone who is older play a younger role because it's easier for makeup to do that.
4 years though, I mean, and also in your 20s, it's like, how old do you think I can't do this anymore. We should have guessed. Like, how old do you think Chloe Bennett is, and how old do you think her character is, and what would you probably would have said that Chloe Bennett's like 32, right, and that her character's 24.
I would have said I don't care because who cares about Chloe Bennett's character?
All right.
That's just me.
Was that
Fair
in
enough.
the first? Was it in the first season, Mike, when we were watching it, and every time her name would come up during the opening credits, we'd be like, "Ah, damn it, Chloe Bennett's in this episode."
You obviously did not listen to the last podcast episode where I told that story. So thanks for
I
bringing it
listened.
up
I think
again,
I was
David.
in it.
No, you weren't.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I wasn't.
What the
I
fuck?
tried, okay?
We had a lot of running in jokes for this show all the time. We still do. We try and memorize everything BJ Britt ever said. Uh, Melinda May just shot Hunter, and BJ Britt goes, "Damn, wish I would have been the one." Everything he said, that man was gold. And then when he's just doing like a slight jog to get all of those little idols out of the way so that the place doesn't collapse, it's like, you can do better, BJ. I believe in you. And then he fucking dies. Because he's a recyclable black character. Really not cool, alright? First of all. They replace him with Lincoln, the electric zappy doctor. Let's move on to when you're going to need a doctor. Because drinking game rules. All right, let's stick to the number one basic. They got a little bit better, but they're also quite horrible in this season with dun da 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 name drops.
I added one called "Drink Every Time Fitz Stutters" because it drove me nuts. So yeah, drink every time Fitz stutters and have
Were
fun
you
with
about to
that
do a
one.
mocking impersonation?
All I kept thinking about was that mashup of Shia LaBeouf from Transformers, where somebody cut it to every time he said no and wait. So it's no, 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 wait, 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 no, 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 wait, 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 no, 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 no. And I just think of Fitz like that.
Hilarious.
Who's next? Okay, you can drink it since Cleffy's not gonna talk. Every time BJ Britt does something black, and you love him for it.
Drink every time Mac is just the nicest guy ever.
He really is, isn't he? He's the only character that understands Fitz, because as soon as Fitz goes through something tragic, his lifelong best friend ditches him and goes on a field mission for the first time, which she hates doing. She would rather go on a field mission undercover than help her best friend.
Doesn't Fitz think he's talking to her throughout the first season, but he's really not? Like, or am I imagining that? Or something like that, where he thinks he's talking to somebody, but you end up finding out the big revelation that he's been talking to himself.
It was her. Yeah, it was her the whole time. Because his stutter would go away when he was talking to her. And you thought that they just had this like deep connection, but then at the end you realized that that was all in his head and she was like his conscience.
That pisses me off even more. I hate this show even more.
Well, she wasn't dead or anything. She was just undercover for like the first 6 episodes, and then she came back in real, and she had shorter hair now, which symbolizes change.
This is not good for my blood pressure.
All right, finally, take a shot for every time you got back together with an ex after Hunter and Bobby do it.
Hunter and Bobby do it?
Yeah, after they do it. Because they've been at each other's throats all of season 2, and you're like, oh, shut up. You two are going to get back together. and then they bang in the back of a car or something, or Max Mac, I don't know, and you just, for every time that you have done that with an ex, you just gotta go, fuck, all right, one for each. You're like, Michelle, Sasha.
You wake up on the floor the next morning.
Yes, always, always drink responsibly.
In a pile of your own regret.
It's gonna be a sad drunk this season, unless you get a buddy and you can have some fun with this show, because there's a lot of fun to be had. You can be tremendously disappointed with how Mr. Hyde looks, just kind of like a blown up, lumpy marshmallow instead of this terrifying man creature you expected him to be. A lot of things.
Yeah.
And
they
when
did not have the budget to do that well.
I feel as if they could have tried a little harder. Anyone got any more fun stuff they want to say?
I feel like they didn't have the budget to do Hyde well because they spent all their budget on filming for 11 and a half months a year.
Good point.
It's a lot of locales. Also, like the bus, right? Every time they show that plane, that's not a real plane. We know that's fake. That costs money every time you got to show it. And it looks kind of cheesy. And also, you just see it to do some fucking like you said. Maybe. Oh, did we ever think that as soon as Fitz jumped out of the plane in season 1, that May just put it into hover mode, just hit the brakes, like no problem, because this plane defies every law of physics known to man?
That could be, except it was Simmons that jumped out of the plane, not Fitz.
See, you do it too.
They are interchangeable characters until one of them gets stuttery and actually goes through some development, and the other treats that development, reflects on that development by being an asshole to that person, or just not there. All right, why you gotta leave in their time of need? Literally, he was. See, we saw how he was fine when she was right there, and then she leaves. In real, it's confusing to talk about because there's fictional Simmons and there's real Simmons. Season 2 was fun. All right, it was a fun season. There was regretfully no Bill Paxton. They did a couple of regretful things like kill off B.J. Britt, but we got Hunter, we got Bobby, we got Mac, and we got some crazy ass stuff like Gordon and the Inhumans in general.
And they confirmed that Chloe Bennett was Quake, because everyone wasn't sure if she's gonna be Quake or not. But I think they said in season 2 she was officially Quake, right? Because she got her powers.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, in the fact that she's Mr. Hyde's daughter,
yeah,
Calvin
Daisy Johnson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like I said earlier.
And then what makes me even more mad, doesn't at the end she go to a vet and he had his mind wiped? Like he doesn't remember anything and he has his own vet clinic or something? Doesn't the dad do that?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, oh, that's right.
God,
they mind wiped
so
the
dumb. So mediocre.
Because otherwise he was going to die because he's too dangerous.
Oh, he's going to die or you wipe his brain and he forgets everything.
There's things to love, there's things to hate, I think.
Here's logic.
But I think...
And this is me.
But I think that's going to wrap it up today. Super fans. Super Movie Studies is recorded and produced by Productions. If you like what you hear, hit up that iTunes, homie. Show us your support. I'm about to do some website stuff.
Speaking of the website, you guys can all hop over to tryopcop.com where the fun lives. And you can check out all of our old episodes, dabble through our scholarly works page, and even revisit the drinking game rules. Please drink responsibly.
Super Movie Studies Podcast also keeps up an active Twitter feed at Super M Studies. So follow us and send us your questions, comments, and suggestions, and we'll use them on the air.
Damn Skippy. We have a few people who've already started commenting on the website, on old episodes, showing us cool pictures of of handcrafted Deadpool dolls, and you're just like, yay, fun stuff, love it.
Love
I
it.
just want more of it, really. I do.
Love it.
We want to do a lot of more things. I wanna get a lot of scholarly works. Basically any sort of essay you've done, pop culture analysis, stuff like that. It reflects on pro media, any way, shape, or form. Love to hear about it. Would love to read it, reflect upon it, and because that's literally my favorite type of literature. Favorite war, politics, and superheroes. All right, thank you for all the weird noise you're making. Are you sharpening a pencil? Is that what's happening? Keep making dumb faces. Okay, David, we're done here. That'll do it today. I'm your host, Michael Maurer.
David Kleppy.
Twitter Tom. And Twitter Tom.
Have a super fucking week, I guess. Have a super week, except you, David, because you're the worst.
End song.